Yesterday we had a smaller case, much smaller than this one, and today we have something quite exquisite in terms of size, in terms of visual aspect, in terms of possibilities for cooling and all the other stuff that I'll go through this video. So we're having here HAVN HS420, and of course you have that one with vertical GPU that has that plexiglass. I think it's a plexiglass, I'm not quite sure, but there's a airflow helper where these bottom fans help get GPU a bit more air. That's it. So what's it all about today? First of all, it's heavy. Second of all, we're having a huge tempered glass curved by 90 degrees, and this is an insane curve here on front because it's so nicely done. It's unbelievable. And when you take a look at the whole design, it's, even though you have loads of stuff going on here, it's minimalistic. And when I say minimalistic, it doesn't have any insane cuts, it doesn't have any insane, I don't know, it's just there. It's I don't know how to explain, guys. I think you understand what I'm trying to say here. I know you've probably seen already dozens of videos about this case, but in general I wanted to give my 2 cents about it. And yeah, so what we have inside, and I'm going to start with that because as you noticed, I didn't fill up all the possibilities for the fans, because right here I have one 120 here as an intake, 3 120 as an intake, these are all reverse fans, then I have 140 as an exhaust and 3 120 as an exhaust on the radiator. And you cannot go really insane with the fans because we have loads of space. So what's it all about? First of all, the interesting concept of removing the panels, and it's something that it's quite tricky, and I'm specifically talking about tempered glass. It's not that simple in terms of you have to be really careful. So what you have to do is remove the top panel, which is magnetically attached, and you have 2 hinges, some sort of hinges at the front, and you have this top part that you just pull out. And then you have 4 screws on the tempered glass, 1 screw here at the back part of the case, and 2 additional screws at the back panel. So what happens at the back side panel when we're talking about cable management? You have loads of canals where you actually have literal instructions which cables go where. And that's insane. Basically, it gives you literally written instruction on how to do your cable management. So they went to that extent to give you that idea as well. Even for the PWM, addressable RGB, audio headers, everything is written at the back. And this is what I love about this case. There's also a possibility at the back to place one of these hard drives. So for instance, if you go with side fans, you have these 4 caddies just laying around. You can't place them anywhere else. So you can use one caddy and place it behind the motherboard, which actually has a specific spot to place it there. And the power supply is vertical, so it's not horizontal like on any other case. It's like a standard dual compartment case that has the power supply placed vertical. Now, since I'm still at the back, you have 2 controllers which give you an option to connect PWM fans. One is located right behind the I/O ports of the motherboard, and the other one is located in front of the power supply. So in those terms, you can actually connect all the fans in various segments, and you don't have to think about, you know, rerouting the cables everywhere. Unfortunately, in my case, I didn't even have to use them because I daisy chained these 3, I daisy chained these 3, and these individual ones at the back, I actually managed to daisy chain them all together and basically make a nice build at the back when we're talking about cables. Now, that's something that happens at the back side of the case. The back side panel also has a huge dust filter, so you don't have to worry. Top dust filter, bottom dust filter, they're all easily removable. So the bottom dust filter is just you just have to slide it out. The top one is magnetic, you just push it out, and the back side you actually have to remove 2 screws. So nothing drastical. If we go at the front and discuss the fan configuration, you could go up to maximum 11 fans. So on top you could go with 3 120 or 3 140, 3 120 or 3 140 on the side, and bottom 3 120 or 3 140. At the rear you can go with 2 120 or 2 140 with a thickness up to 30 millimeters. And this rear means that the top one is exhaust, the bottom one is intake, which is kind of logical because the cold air comes from the bottom, the hot air needs to exhaust at the top. That's totally normal. Talking about liquid cooling, and since we finished up with the fans, you can go up to 420mm radiator thickness up to 65mm, so it doesn't overlap with RAM modules. On the right you could go also with 420, but the thickness is 60mm, with the GPU up to 317mm, and the top I/O can go up to 80mm. The bottom can also go 420mm, and the thickness is 120. So all in all, you could go with 3 420, and this is just insane. If you, by some strange reason, in this insane case, want to go with an air cooler, you can go with one that goes up to 185mm. Graphic card length maximum is 480mm, and height is 195. Talking about storage, as I already stated, on the side you can go up to 4 3.5-inch hard drives or 8 2.5-inch SSDs. Cable management tray, you can go with one storage in terms of 1 3.5-inch hard drive or 2 2.5-inch SSDs. And if you don't want to go with storage and you don't want to go with fans on the side, you can even mount the display because it has VESA mount 75x75 or 100x100, and display size maximum is 14 inches. This is crazy. I mean, wow. Length of the power supply is up to 220 and the whole clearance is 290. It supports eATX, maximum height 277mm, ATX, micro ATX and mini ATX of course. Then we go with front I/O ports. We have one USB 3.2 generation 2 type C, two USB 3.2 generation 1 type A, combo audio jack, and power and reset button. Now here's something interesting that I haven't seen on any other cases. So the material used to build this, to craft this case, we have SGCC sheet metal, tempered glass, ABS, nylon, silicon zinc alloy, and NdFeB magnets. The whole weight is almost 18 kilos, so 17.84. So how does the airflow go? You see these openings right here, and they are actually openings. These are the openings that actually collect the air from the bottom, and this fan over here. You have additional fan for the intake here on the side that pushes air, and then it goes through the GPU, the cold air, the hot air goes towards upwards, and you can either create additional intake on the side, which will give fresh air towards the radiator, and basically what you have is a total chimney effect. But it does have enough space here because it's constantly pushing air, pulling air basically, and that is outstanding. Now, some of the key features, and I'm really impressed, I have to admit, I'm really impressed. So we have the installed GPU anti-sag bracket holder, let's put it this way, right? You have two thumb screws. One is located that holds the whole anti-sag bracket, which you can of course navigate up or down, and then you have another thumb screw which helps you adjust the part that is holding the GPU. And in those terms, why? Well, basically so you don't hit the fan, quite obvious. And it's in the whole design of the chassis, it really blends in quite nicely, and even if it's a bit visible, it's still nicely designed. Now the second thing that this is kind of regular, I think all manufacturers of cases should put an anti-sag bracket, or at least if it's with a standard power supply shroud, at least put that magnetic one that is extendable. Quite obvious and simple, there's nothing else to add on that. So when we go to the second feature that I'm really impressed, and some of you might not consider this, but the cable management rubber grommets, and I wouldn't even call them that because they aren't. So you have these, let's call them strings, right? You have these strings of rubber, and they are really thick, so you don't have to, you can't call them actual strings, but I really don't know how to call them differently. So you have strings that are easily stretchable, you can remove them in terms of stretch them and push the cables through. And then for the main cables like 24 pin, 8-pin EPS, GPU, you have some clamps which are held quite nicely towards those rubber strings, and you can slide them. But what does this help you? It helps you have the 24-pin perfectly aligned, unless you do it like I did and tie the 24-pin a bit too tight at the back. But regardless of that, you can really reorganize everything. And that's not all, because you have those clamps in the accessory box, which means that you can add more of those clamps and regroup the cables as you wish. In terms of, again, cable management, I have to say that. So this fan right here at the back, right? You have a possibility to reroute the cable through the power supply, which I did. So basically you have an opening right here at the back, pushes the cable through the power supply and above it, and it goes right at the back in the second compartment. It's not visible. That's the important thing. But you can also push it towards the bottom and push it right here beneath the power supply. So that's another thing. The bottom fans have an opening, and that's maybe a bit overthought. I would have placed at least one opening here on the side, so you don't have to push. If, for instance, you have 3 fans that are daisy chained together, so you have only 2 cables running out. You have to push the cable from this side right to the middle. It would be good if there was one more hole right here on the back side, which will give you an option to just put the cable down, and that's it. No more rerouting the cables to the middle part. And then the top rear fan is basically the same thing. You reroute the cable here at the back, but you have loads of openings here that give you access to the other compartment. And of course, let's not forget the top part. You don't have to push the fan cables, which are cooling the radiator, regularly through those rubber grommets. You have a canal at the top, which actually again says cables from the AIO, and reroute the cables on the top, slide them here at the back downwards, and you're good to go. Just connect everything and you're good to go. So shame that this case doesn't have a back connect, but if it did have back connect, and this is why I'm saying, if it did have back connect, then none of this would be possible, because you would have loads of openings, you wouldn't be able to have all those canals, and none of this would make sense. So I'm saying this case is outstandingly minimalistic. Enjoying the visual aspect, everything here is such an outstandingly done. And I mean, a couple of these bits and pieces, I can't go into those details and say that as a negative, because let's be honest, there are more cases with more flaws than just, oh, I need another hole right here, can you please drill it for me? That doesn't make sense, right? So even the hard drive cages are so slick and nicely integrated into the chassis that I don't know what to say. What I actually wanted to say is removing the tempered glass. Now this is the trickiest part. When you remove the top panel, you have to remove 4 screws, and believe me, the tempered glass won't fall off. You can literally leave it as it is and the tempered glass won't fall off, because it has some sort of a slide-in mechanism with I think you have 2 rubber holders right here and 1 total extended arm that pushes inside the chassis. So what you do is you lower down, and believe me, you have to hold it here at the top. You lower down the tempered glass, and then it just slides in, and you just need to push it a bit. That's it, but slightly and carefully, and that's it. That's the only thing. And believe me, it's a bit heavier because we're having a huge piece of tempered glass right here, and tempered glass isn't that lightweight. So yeah, now it's time for benchmarks, even though this case does have everything when we're talking about airflow. So let's go through the components. As already stated, MSI MPG Z890 carbon Wi-Fi, and you can already presume what processor we have. Intel Core Ultra 9 285K. Cooldown with Trix Panorama 360. Then we have, this is MSI GeForce RTX 4080 Super Gaming X Slim, and we have 3 120 fans here blowing in and 120 here blowing in as well, and 140 as an exhaust. That's it. I didn't go with additional fans on the side because some of you might go with hard drive cages. So if for you guys that will actually fill up the case with 140 fans entirely and even go on the side, you know it will cool better than this. So let's go. Intel Core Ultra 9 285K in AIDA 64 Extreme Edition went up to 73 degrees, clock speed 5400 MHz, and the GPU went up to 65. What I noticed with this GPU, the lowest that I got was 65, and the maximum that I got was 71 or 72.3, something like that. So basically it does cool the GPU, and the processor is quite alright. See the measure scores, it started at 71, went down to 69, and then it just jumped once at 74, but everything else was around 70, so average I would say 70 degrees. Clock speed 2 times reached 5300 MHz, and all other benchmarks were at 5400 MHz. And just not to go too much into details, it was constantly circulating around 40,000, going maximum at 40,157, and the lowest one was 39,338. In general, I got the same scores in past cases, so that kind of goes quite nicely. The thermals are still there because I think the same thermals were with Panorama when I actually did a review about the Panorama. So yeah, that's basically, that's really good. That's really good. And if you go with a custom loop with 3 420mm radiators, the thickness can be insane, because look at this empty slot right here, empty part. You can really go with a thick radiator, and then the only thing that doesn't make sense is this fan at the back, because you'll be just blocking, I mean, push-pull combination, you don't need an extra fan right here, but it's up to you to decide. Guys, this is definitely PC Crazy Premium badge. Why? Because it looks premium, it feels premium, all the material are done so carefully, so nice. 11 140mm fans, cable management out of this world, and especially love the rubber. Finally somebody reinvented that, and I know some of you guys will most likely laugh, but when you go and build 10 PCs per week or something similar to that, different chassis, not just rebuilding the same chassis, different cases, then you noticed the slight flaws that some cases have, that are for some of you guys unnoticeable. This is a big thing for me. I think for some of you guys that will be the same thing, and I love the implementation of the hard drive cages, because that's, I mean, either 4 3.5-inch hard drives or 8 2.5-inch. You can literally create SSD NAS in this chassis and go with custom liquid cooled with 2 420, still have enough for cooling, still have enough for storage, and just wow, PC Crazy Premium badge. Big thumbs up, really loving this. This is an outstanding case, and it's not that even expensive. Okay, $200, €200 is a lot of money in general, but when we compare other chassis, other cases, and compare this one to them, and compare the airflow, compare the what's there left to compare, possibilities, radiator support, and everything else, what's there left to say, guys? That's it. Links for the HAVN HS420 are in the description below, the black and white version, and I'll even place for you guys the vGPU, but unfortunately I can't give you any extra details regarding the thermals on the GPU because, well, I didn't test it out. So yeah, this will be enough. This one definitely deserves a thumbs up. So if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, click the notification bell. See you quite shortly in another one. Bye bye.